Marvel Rivals, we need to talk. Now, I'm not one to be too critical of a video game, but I have a lot to say about Marvel Rivals as a whole. The first topic I want to talk about is CC. If you don't know what CC is, CC stands for crowd control, which refers to character abilities that restrict the actions of others during gameplay. Now, if you play Marvel Rivals, you probably know which hero I'm going to bring up to start out with, and that hero is Emma Frost. Now, Emma Frost's main CC ability, her diamond form, if I remember correctly, was on a 10-second cooldown after being used on her character launch. And this was a major problem. This CC ability could stun you for 1.5 seconds total when comboed with her wall kick, which could potentially one-shot any support that you had on your team. And since the CC ability was so broken, it struck fear into the Marvel Rivals community that future added characters could have a CC ability as broken as Emma Frost's. And their fear was completely rational, as the developers went on to buff characters with CC abilities such as the Winter Soldier, Hela, Wolverine, Luna Snow, Invisible Woman, and even the Thing. And they also added super unneeded buffs to the character Namor to make it where anyone in his ultimate abilities radius would not be able to use their movement abilities at all. The devs also continued to add characters with CC abilities like Phoenix, Blade, Angela, Daredevil, and Rogue. So pretty much every character since Ultron came out has had a CC ability, and I find that to be a major problem. In my opinion, I believe there's way too much CC in the game because almost every character has a CC ability. Supports like Luna Snow, Mantis, Invisible Woman, and Jeff all have CC abilities that can completely shut down enemies and even cancel their ultimates. I firmly believe the devs should nerf the characters with the highest amount of CC in the game, such as the Winter Soldier, Daredevil, Wolverine, Penny Parker, Invisible Woman, Emma Frost, and Rogue, because their CC abilities are just way too broken. Now, the second topic I want to talk about is the balance changes. Now, I've played video games for my entire life, but never in my life with any video game have I seen balance changes so terrible. With every half season that launches, I check the patch notes, and my smile turns to a frown. The devs continuously buff characters that are already strong with every patch, like The Thing, Hawkeye, Hela, Namor, Groot, the Winter Soldier, Wolverine, and Luna Snow. I am also particularly upset with the changes they made to Captain America, as they keep nerfing him when he's one of the weakest characters in the game. And as a Celestial Peak Thor main, I'm particularly upset with the devs just giving him quality of life changes instead of giving him buffs to his ultimate ability. Instead of giving it a movement boost or damage boost on Final Slam, personally I believe its damage should be 275 damage instead of 220, they gave him a 1-second stun, which most of the time does absolutely nothing, alongside his ult being easily counterable. They've also given unneeded buffs to Groot, where if he places down his big wall, he becomes CC immune. Groot was already a top 3 tank, but the fact that he continuously gets buffed while tanks like Captain America, Hulk, and Thor get lackluster changes is absolutely infuriating. And don't even get me started on DPS changes. Daredevil is the best DPS in the game, and his one balance change is that he gets 25 less health, which is a terrible change. I believe that his hook should have gotten removed, his block should have gotten nerfed, his ult should have gotten nerfed, and his damage should have gotten nerfed as well. We also continue to see the buffs of strong characters like Hawkeye, Hela, Moon Knight, Squirrel Girl, the Winter Soldier, and Wolverine. Hawkeye could already two-shot tanks, but the fact that he keeps getting damage and survivability buffs is diabolical. Wolverine can now land his ultimate on walls on a shorter cooldown with his Feral Leap. Hela gets bonus health after exiting her bird and can two-shot supports. Moon Knight keeps getting damage and ult buffs. Squirrel Girl can three-shot any tank, and the Winter Soldier can slow enemies down twice, grab them with his hook from 25 meters away, and stop them from using a movement ability for 2 seconds. Oh, and his ultimate removes 25 health from an enemy health bar. Last and most definitely not least, the support buffs. Luna Snow continuously gets buffed with every patch, and with the most recent patch, she can self-heal more, her snowball is practically hit scan, and she does way more damage with her primary attack. Invisible Woman buffs are also insanely broken, with her heals doing more healing and reaching further, and the fact that she can self-shield is also broken, because she is allowed to block 525 damage total. Invisible Woman also gets her ultimate super fast, and she does heavy damage as a support. I believe these two supports in particular should be nerfed to the ground, especially Invisible Woman. Because, like, why is she able to block my Thor ult with the press of a button, and Luna Snow is able to outrun it too, even when I use my Lightning Realm, which slows them down? Also, the new support Gambit became single-handedly the best support in the game overnight. He has high DPS potential, as well as his healing being the best in the game. Not to mention his AoE damage and AoE healing. His ultimate also grants an explosive burst after using an attack or simply being close to an enemy if you have his ultimate on you. I believe Gambit should get a significant amount of nerfs if the devs want to keep their game playable. The third topic I want to discuss is the rise of triple tank and or triple support. Now, the most infamous thing about Marvel Rivals is that even in ranked or tournaments, you can play whatever role you want without any restrictions. Now, with that comes a problem. The ideal composition for Marvel Rivals is 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 supports. However, since the game has no restriction, people have begun to play comps like 3 tanks, 1 DPS, and 2 supports, 2 tanks, 1 DPS, and 3 supports, and even the most broken comp, 3 tanks and 3 supports. And because of the state this game has been in over the last 4 months, where supports have single-handedly been the most broken role in the game, the rise of triple support has caused some major issues. When an enemy team runs triple support, it is practically impossible to play dive characters such as Black Panther, Spider-Man, Captain America, Hulk, and Psylocke. In my personal experience playing Thor, whenever I try to land my ult on any of the supports, it seems that they always have a support ultimate ready for whenever I even try to get near them. And for this reason in particular, I believe Thor should be able to do 275 damage on his final slam in his ult along with a major movement speed buff, so that supports simply can't just patty cake or ult to survive. The only support ults that would have an exception to this would be Mantis, Rocket, Loki, since he can copy these ultimates, and Cloak and Dagger. Now, I want to bring up triple tank. There is a strong theory that running triple tank can counter triple support, but I don't believe that's the case. Most tanks are so weak right now and get bullied by CC characters. And if a team is running triple support, 2 DPS, and 1 tank, all with CC, they get shredded. The most infamous composition in the game right now is triple tank, triple support. Every support has 1 tank to pocket, therefore not allowing the enemy team to do a slight bit of impactful damage without them going for the supports. But with the current state of the game, killing a support when there are 3 supports on the enemy team is basically impossible. Therefore, I believe the fix to this is role queue. My take on this is that it should be exclusive to competitive and should be the main game mode for competitive, so that it makes games more fair and less obnoxious. Now, for my next topic, I might get a lot of controversy for this, but I want to talk about Marvel and how they've been using their IPs. I firmly believe that Marvel fell off after the release of Avengers Endgame. The MCU has only had maybe 4 good movies since that movie came out in 2019. It just feels like they've completely lost the plot with their characters and aren't staying true to them. It feels like with every release Marvel makes, whether it be a movie, comic, game, merch, etc., is really just a cash grab out of desperation to keep their franchise alive. So a lot of Marvel lovers like me have developed a strong fatigue with Marvel over these last 6.5 years. Don't even get me started on all the Doomsday leaks because I'll cover that in another video. But the same fatigue applies to Marvel Rivals. With every month that passes by, the game brings in a new character that 9 times out of 10 is insanely broken and needs a ton of nerfs. It feels like Marvel Rivals is less interested in the enjoyment of their player base and more so to market their game with a new character releasing, such as Deadpool. The lack of actual competitive playtesting with their game and streamers only giving positive feedback when given early access just makes it seem like the most important part of the player base has no voice whatsoever. In response to this, I believe Marvel Rivals should give the player base early access to the new season or half-season launch for a day, exactly a week prior to its launch date. This would allow the general player base to give useful feedback to the devs in order to make the proper balance changes and bug fixes needed. I would also hope that Marvel Rivals, instead of rushing out a new character every month, takes a full season or 2 months to make proper balance changes, bug fixes, and give us some more skins. This would ensure that the game is actually playable and not crazy laggy or one character determines whether the game is won or not. I know it's kind of weird that all of that fit in the same topic, but anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is the matchmaking. Now, this game bases their matchmaking off of how many players are in a party and that party's average rank. The typical maximum rank gap that is allowed to be in the same party and same game is a full division. Therefore, someone in Diamond 1 can't be in the same party as a Celestial 3 player if they're queuing for competitive. Well, for the most part. If you're in a team of 3 and your highest player is a Grandmaster 1 and your lowest player is Diamond 1, your average rank will be Grandmaster 2. Therefore, your Diamond 1 player could possibly get into the same game as someone who is Celestial 3. I find this to be very messed up because you could be in a solo queue as a Celestial 3 player and have to carry a team of 3 that has a Diamond 1 player, while you have to face a team of Celestial rank players. This means that the matchmaking is neither skill-based or engagement optimized. I feel like skill-based matchmaking would be the most fair matchmaking for the game, although it would lead to a lot longer matches. Now, for my sixth and final topic, I want to talk about what I would do to fix the game. Starting this out, I'm going to show you the balance changes I think this game needs on the screen so that I don't have to talk so much about it. Here's the buffs, the nerfs, and more nerfs. Pause the video if you want to see them completely. I feel like the balance changes that I listed are reasonable for the amount of broken characters and abilities there are currently. This would make CC less abundant and supports more vulnerable like they are supposed to be in a hero shooter. Also, I want to say that we should really go back to the 3-month season schedule as it felt less rushed back when we had that schedule, and it would allow for more proper balance changes in the future, so that we don't have to wait for every half season arrive just to get them along with a new broken character. And like I said earlier, I strongly agree with the idea to add role queue into the game because it would allow players to play their main roles and not have to worry about playing characters they don't know and aren't good at. It would also enforce fairness into competitive so that people can't simply just play 3 of the same role and win the game automatically. And if you didn't get the point by now, I believe support should be nerfed except for supports like Ultron, Mantis, Adam Warlock, and Jeff, just because they are severely underpowered compared to the rest of the support roster. Supports are meant to be the most vulnerable out of any role in a hero shooter, and I believe this game should keep it that way. Also, I think in terms of map rotation, the Clintar maps and Heart of Heaven map should be taken out of competitive rotation, and the ones that were previously taken out, like Royal Palace and Shin Shibuya, should be added back in, along with a new map that releases whatever season they decide to make this move, if they ever do. And I'm just like, bro, can we get some more maps that are like the Wakanda maps? I feel like we need a convoy map for Wakanda because it's the only mode left for this perfect streak of maps. The Ixgard maps are also insanely good, contrary to what people say about the Domination map, as well as the Domination Krakoa map. I feel like we need a lot more lovable maps for Convergence, as it is single-handedly the most hated mode because of its maps. Also, can we make Resource Rumble a mode for arcade and not in the quick play rotation? I feel like this would be a good change so that all the nerds that like this mode can go play it without worrying about people leaving the game. Touching back on the topic of going back to a 3-month season rotation, I feel like this would allow the devs to properly balance their characters and allow the community more time to get used to the new character, so that when people are complaining that a character is too broken or underpowered, the devs know what to do. And the devs should really not just listen to the support players because they keep complaining about quote-unquote nerf dive characters because they are unkillable. Really, I think the devs should listen to the people that play certain characters that are underpowered and listen to what they have to say about buffing their character. Also adjusting the most broken heroes such as Bucky, Daredevil, Hawkeye, Invis, and Groot, so that the people who main weak characters are satisfied and that their picks become viable. But I don't think the devs will ever listen to the correct part of the community, as they have shown us with each patch that releases. I'm not entirely shocked to say this, but Marvel Rivals has lost 90% of its player base since the game launched. Although Marvel Rivals has been a great competitor to Overwatch, I feel like they will go down the same route as Overwatch and only listen to the biggest of the big creators when it comes to balance changes and what happens with the game. Now, going back to fixing the game, a lot of you will agree with me on this, but we need the same ban system in competitive as the tournament game modes have. If you weren't aware already, the tournament ban system involves banning 3 characters per team and saving 2 characters per team. The ban system goes one at a time, and although it is long, it is very efficient. And instead of a random chance vote for a ban, I feel like it should be just a majority rule vote. I just feel like we need this because I'm so sick and tired of trying to ban the meta characters like Gambit, Daredevil, and Hawkeye just for one person on my team to vote to ban Penny Parker and still get the ban, even though 5 out of 6 players voted for a Gambit ban. And I've consistently hit high GM solo queue with every season that I've played ranked, and even the times I was in Celestial, people were just banning the most random characters and not thinking about the annoying characters or the meta that's just annoying to face. And I just want to touch back on the topic of Thor, as I believe I'm most qualified to be speaking about him specifically. If you didn't take the time to read what balance changes I think he needs earlier, I believe his ult should do 275 damage on the final slam, a faster movement speed that can catch up to Luna Snow when she's ice skating, but slowed by Lightning Realm, of course. It should also be completely CC immune like Punisher's ult, because there is quite literally no other ult in the game that can be cancelled by a Spider-Man uppercut. You heard me right. Thor's ult can be cancelled by a Spider-Man uppercut. They should also revert the hammer throw cooldown to 2 seconds like it was before, but keep the gimmick where it recharges Thor Force and buff its damage from 45 to 70 again. Other than that, I feel like he doesn't really need any other changes, and maybe like give him a legendary skin as well, like Fat Thor from Endgame or something. Now, I don't think all these changes have to happen, like Thor ult being completely CC immune, but if they want to keep his ult so counterable, they need to make his ult have a higher reward, meaning 275 damage and a higher movement speed, because otherwise, his ult is just useless. In my games, I'm more likely than not get more value in the game by not even using my ult. The fact that he is stunned for about as much time as the enemies are stunned in his ult, as well as the radius of his ult not being large at all, allows him to get easily CC'd when finished ulting. The pose that he does at the end of his ult, yes, is filled with aura, but is the aura worth it when he can't do anything for half a second and get absolutely cooked? I don't think so. Like, the fact that one of the strongest Marvel characters in history has an ult that can't even one-shot a support is just adding to the fact that Marvel hates Thor in general. After I kill this Punisher, you're gonna see what typically happens when I use this absolute dog shit of an ult. Like, the fact that a support can just panic button when I ult them is so fucking annoying, but when a top 2 tank like Magneto or Groot uses their ult, they can easily kill through a support ult, as well as Penny's ult if she places a ton of mines in one spot. But overall with Thor, I'm just not really happy with the spot Thor is in right now. Overall, I feel like the game was off to a great start from Season 0 to Season 1.5, but after Season 2.0, I feel like they've been headed in a terrible direction, and I hope that this year is different. I know this was a pretty long rant, but thanks so much for watching this video, and since you made it to the end, I would love to know what your favorite Marvel character is, whether it be from the MCU, the comics, or even the games. Also, I spent like half a month putting this video together, so I would really appreciate it if you dropped a like, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel because I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by June so that I can release even better content when that time comes. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have a really good Season 6, and I'll see you guys in the next one.